This is the North Brunswick Township Board of Education meeting. It's our regular public meeting for August. Could we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Ali.
Here.
Mr. Carter.
Here.
Ms. James.
Here.
Ms. Keefe.
Here.
Mr. Liguori. Dr. Patel.
Here.
Mr. Singh.
Here.
Ms. Toth.
Here.
And Mr. Wen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law, the public notice of this meeting, which included the time, date, and location, was distributed by 3 p.m. on Tuesday, November 26, 2024, and Wednesday, November 27, 2024, in the following manner. Posted on the bulletin board reserved for announcements in the board office, 25 Linwood Place, North Brunswick. Mailed to the Home News Tribune, Star Ledger, NJ.com, and the clerk of the Township of North Brunswick, and delivered to the 9 duly elected board members. Well, good evening, everyone. It's good to see some folks in our audience tonight, and good evening to the rest of my team. We definitely have a lot of exciting things on the horizon with the new school year starting on Tuesday, September 2nd, but we've also welcomed back staff, teachers, administrators, our custodians, plant managers over the last couple of days and throughout the summer that have been working very hard to get our buildings ready for opening officially for Tuesday the 2nd. So as a board, I just wanted to speak on behalf of the group for a moment. We have had the chance to tour our district buildings throughout the last couple of days, and there has been so much done over the summer in order to get our buildings ready and prepared for our children to come back next week. And it truly, I think the saying that comes to mind at most is it truly takes a village. We have been, amazed over the last couple of days how hard our staff, our plant managers, custodians are performing in our buildings to make sure that everything is ready, is safe, is secure for the return of the rest of the staff, but also the students. Our teachers and staff members have been getting their rooms together. It was so amazing to see, and the improvements that the buildings endured over the summer were incredible to see. So on behalf of the board, we truly thank every single person that has contributed to the getting of our buildings ready, all of the amazing work that's being done. We are so excited to have the community members and parents see the upgrades, see the changes that have taken place over the summer in our buildings at Back to School Night in September. So we are just very excited for another great year. It's definitely the turn of a tide, a new chapter, and we're really, really excited to have a great school year start very soon. So on behalf of the board, thank you, everyone. So tonight we have a presentation, and at this time I will turn it over to our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Brian Sikowski.
Yes. Good evening. Thank you, Madam President, and welcome to our millions of viewers. Don't be nervous tonight, Ms. Chang and Ms. Morales. The audience in person is small, but the audience watching, I hear the record numbers. Although I believe the channel has now been changed to 1,300.
Oh, yes.
Same joke.
No.
New term, same joke.
No new term, same joke, yes. I got more laughter the first time around. I understand why. But I do want to say that we're a new channel, 1,300. We'll be having, we're reviving the mayor and superintendent show in the near future, and looking forward to keeping everybody posted about that updating, as we certainly have a lot to talk about. But before I'm able to give my report, I think an even more important report is our report for our Access for L's results. So with that, I'll Miss Mercy Chang.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Is this on?
I don't care.
It's on now. I will hold. Hi, we meet again. As I said in our last meeting, it'll be like a few of these. We'll take our testing show on the road. We're really excited to share this year's results with you. Obviously, it is our responsibility, according to the state, to share these with you within 60 days of us getting the printed reports, which we already mailed out to parents. But in addition to it being a responsibility, it's also something that we are proud to share with you, especially given this year's growth. So we're really excited to share some really astounding growth, and I do not want to take credit for that growth. I'll be co-presenting with Mrs. Yesenia Morales, who is the ELL supervisor for our district. I probably won't get a chance to come back up here when she's done, so I want to make sure to thank the ESL staff across the district who has been working really diligently to improve our programs, and in turn, you'll see positive results in our assessments. I will give my usual overview of what is Access for L's. I gave you each a presentation in case you prefer to look down at your papers. It is a long name, the title, Assessing Comprehension and Communication in English, state to state, because each state does have different requirements. When you go on the WIDA website, you have to actually select the state that you're working with. And we are one of 41 states who uses this assessment to assess students' language proficiency. Obviously, it's a well-respected assessment. We do this annually. There is no option for that. And so our ESL students do end up taking the NJSLA, Access for L's, and if they're in high school, as juniors, the NJGPA all in 1 year. And those results Mrs. Morales uses in combination with those data points along with the teachers, screeners, teacher recommendations, formative assessments to determine who will need to continue ESL services. But this really has the heavier weight. So students who score above 4.5, typically exit the program, and we haven't finalized all the data, but we're thinking we're gonna have over 17 students on the Access alone exit the program, and then with other measures, we might have more before the kiddos come back into our classrooms. So obviously I can't let you tour the buildings while we're testing, but I can share with you what it looks like for our students. Sorry, I clicked all the way through. What it looks like for our students when they're taking this test. This is a labor-intensive assessment. It has to be administered by the student's teacher who provides the service wherever possible. So obviously if someone's ill, we're gonna do our best, but the state does expect that whoever's providing the ESL instruction administers the assessment. So we do it in small groups, and a lot of training is required of teachers. We appreciate the support of the Board of Education and our administrators, Dr. Z, Amy, because we do have to pull all teachers offline to come and do their training, their required training. And then every year they take a quiz. I try to take one every year too, just so I understand what's expected of them. And if they pass with an 80, they can administer the assessment. They can help students with technology questions, and they can clarify directions, but they can't speak to students in their home language, and they obviously can't answer content-based questions. The reason it's labor-intensive is because students can take the entire day, which some of them do. So that obviously impacts scheduling. If a child is taking longer, that teacher cannot end testing and go teach. So that's kind of what it looks like for our students. This year, we tested between February 3rd and March 28th. I do not randomly pick those dates. The state gives them to me, and we work around them. We do have a long window because the students are tested in 4 domains: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. That all encompasses, language acquisition. And the tests are chunked in the following manner. You have a K test, which is given to students individually. You have a 1 test, but then at grade 2 and 3, they're kind of chunked together, 4, 5, 6, 8, and then a high school assessment. All students must test in all areas to receive a summative score. We did have a few students who were exempt from particular domains due to an IEP or a 504, and then the state sends us a composite score where they do the calculations because one domain was missing. And this year, we tested 571 students. All of our grades 1 through 12 students do this on the computer, so we also thank our technology department for ensuring that our tech is ready, available. It can be tricky when you're listening and speaking into a microphone, so we want to make sure that none of our tests are invalidated due to tech issues. Students in grades 1 through 3 do their writing assessment on paper, and this year, K students did the entire test on paper. My understanding is that will be digital moving forward, but I have not received confirmation of that as of yet. So these are the performance levels, and I don't think I've ever done this before, but I want to give you a brief definition of each level. So you understand, it's on my phone, I apologize. So you understand what the expectation is. Like I said, we want them, they need to be at a 4.5, which is tricky. It's like between expanding and bridging in order to exit, so it's not a clean cut. But level 1 demonstrates a very basic understanding of English. So you're talking your newcomers straight from maybe potentially another country, or maybe just had never spoken English at the home. Level 2 shows emerging English language skills with some understanding, but more support needed. Level 3, these students are developing. This is where most of our students fall, and Mrs. Morales will explain. A student at this level is developing their English skills and can use English for some academic tasks, usually more for math than for ELA. Level 4, expanding, shows expanding language skills, is progressing toward academic content mastery. Level 5, bridging, a student at this level can bridge English language skills to access content across academic subjects. So now you're talking, even a native speaker has trouble with academic language, so you're asking the ML students to acquire that language and use it across the day. And then lastly, level 6, and you've seen in the past that we don't have a lot of students in the reaching range, which makes sense because they don't speak English, so a lot of them aren't going to hit the 6 or are going to exit before they ever get to the 6. Similar to native English speakers in their ability to understand and use English in academic and social settings. Okay, so those are the levels. Statewide, I mean, generally everyone's performing about the same. I just actually had East Brunswick call me to ask me, like, what's our exit rate? You know, they really want to improve it. They're kind of falling in the same categories as us. And that makes sense for the students and their development in the English language. So, we have lots of amazing data, but like I said, especially when it's good news, I don't want to steal the thunder, and Mrs. Morales is going to share the numbers with you. Obviously, numbers statically just don't mean much, so we also included slides that show the growth that we made. That way we can see how they performed this year, and then comparison to what did that look like last year and how much growth was there. Any questions before I sit? Thank you so much. It's very nice to see you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, members of the board. So tonight I will be presenting the Spring 2025 access for ELS results from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. These results really provide us some valuable insight into our students' English language development and help to guide how we support them in both language acquisition and academic achievement. So this spring, as we mentioned, we tested 571 students, and 290 of those were elementary students. This test measures progress in the English proficiency across all 6 levels, from entering to reaching. While the data does give us a snapshot of where the students are, really what's most important is the story that it tells us about their growth. From our youngest learners beginning their journey to our oldest at the high school, which are advanced into higher levels of proficiency. So right now in kindergarten, over half of our students are just beginning their English language learning journey, which is exactly where we would expect them to be. So by 1st grade, however, if you look at that, we see a strong shift upwards. Nearly 3/4 of our students are already in the emerging or developing stages. So this tells us that our early literacy and oral language supports are helping our students gain that confidence very quickly from going from kindergarten to first grade. By second and third grade, the majority of our students already have moved into the developing stage. This is a sign of real progress for us because it means that our students are not only building everyday language, our social language, but they are also starting now to engage in academic vocabulary and more complex classroom tasks. The fact that so many of our students were concentrated there shows us that our programs are effectively moving our students forward grade by grade. And then by fourth grade, the results were super exciting for me because by nearly 40% of our students were now in expanding, bridging, or reaching levels, which are the highest levels of English proficiency. So importantly, some of our students are reaching the point where they're just ready to transition out of ESL or have already exited out of ESL because of those scores. So this is a clear sign that the supports and the instructions that we have in place are working for our students. Oh, sorry. No, I took two. There we go. So this is a comparison chart. So when we compare our cohorts from when they started in kindergarten to first grade, we see an 8% reduction in students at the entering and emerging levels. What we see is an 8% shift then into the developing and expanding. So for our young learners, this is really a good sign that our foundational and literacy skills are working because then we see that from kindergarten to first grade, they did move that level up that we want, that the state expects to see. From first to second grade, that was where we saw the most dramatic progress because between first and second grade, we saw a 34% jump into developing and expanding, while the percentage of students in the earliest levels dropped by the same amount. This tells me that in just 1 year, over a third of our students advanced into more academically ready levels, which is a remarkable accomplishment for our ESL and bilingual teachers. And then in our second and third grade growth, we see their consistent forward movement, 11% fewer students at our earliest levels, and 11% more in our developing and expanding. So this steady progress shows me that we're continuing to build our academic English and they're advancing through more complex academic content. And then third to fourth grade, in this transition from third to fourth grade, this story becomes even more encouraging. Not only did we see a 21% drop in students at the beginning levels, but we also saw a 13% increase in developing and expanding, and then we saw an 8% increase in students reaching and bridging. So this is a huge step forward for us because that means that, like I said, our students are achieving the highest levels of our English language proficiency. If we then turn to our upper elementary and middle school results for grades 5 through 8, this year we assessed 148 students. That's 39 more than we did last year, which shows that our multilingual population is continuing to grow. What you'll see in these results is steady progress. The growth at these grades often looks a little bit different than at the elementary level. The access test becomes more rigorous as students get older, requiring higher levels of academic English, and students' academic foundation in their native language also plays a bigger role in how quickly they move forward. The more proficient a student is in their native language, the easier it is for them to acquire English. So if students come a little bit later in the school year, they don't start with us in kindergarten, it makes it a little bit harder for for them to acquire language. And especially after age 11, it becomes even more difficult. But even so, this data reflects consistent upward movement. So in the 5th grade, we see a healthy distribution across all proficiency levels with 15% entering, 25% emerging, and 22% developing. But most notably, we see a 28% expanding and a 10% bridging. This is a very powerful sign for us. By the time that students finish their elementary school, nearly 40% of them are demonstrating higher level proficiency. Some of these students are already nearing readiness to exit their ESL services altogether. sixth grade, we see almost half of our students, 46%, are in the developing, which shows that they are able to access already grade level content with support. We also have 11% at expanding and 3% at bridging. While progress here can seem a little bit slower, it's just important to remember that, like I said, that this test demands much more academic language at this stage. These students are being asked to read and write at increasingly complex levels, which is a challenge even for native English speakers. So the fact that they are holding steady in developing and expanding is a true success. So even though you might not see the big shift in their scale scores, you can see the progress and the growth. In grade 7, the majority of students are again in developing and emerging ranges, but 17% have reached expanding. Although we don't see bridging or reaching at this grade level, this pattern, like I said, is very typical. So growth in these grades often happen a little bit more gradually, but when students make these gains, they're a lot bigger and lasting. So by grade 8, we do see encouraging trends. The percentage of our students in entering drops just 10%, the lowest across these grades, while the majority, 57%, are developing, and then another 11% are expanding. This means that most of our students are progressing out of their earliest stages and are preparing to enter high school with a strong English foundation. The movement out of entry is also a very good indicator for us. So this slide here, we are comparing the performance again from last year's access test scores to this year's access test scores. And like I said, a key factor to remember is that our enrollment has changed significantly. We had 39 more students in this grade compared to last year, and many of those students are also newcomers entering with a district with very limited English. Despite that, our data still shows a steady upward progress, with students continuing to move out of the earliest levels of proficiency levels into the middle and higher ranges. That's something that we're very proud of. So between 5th and 6th grade, we saw a 3% increase in developing and expanding compared to last year, even with more students tested, while bridging and reaching dipped by 5%. That is expected since the test does get harder in middle school. What matters the most, though, is that the students are moving in that middle range proficiency levels where we can see that they're engaging with that grade level content. By 6th to 7th grade, the shift is positive here compared to last year. There are 10% fewer students in the entering and emerging, and 10% more in the developing and expanding. So this tells us that even with the increase in newcomers joining the district, our students are still moving steadily forward into those upward levels with support for academic success. And then from grade 7 to grade 8, the change here is a little more gradual, with a 4% reduction in entering and emerging and a 4% increase in developing and expanding. While the movement may look smaller, it reflects to me a steady growth on much more demanding version of this test. This gain means to me that the students are strengthening the advanced academic language that they'll need for their coursework for high school. And then our grade 8 that are entering to grade 9 comparison, I was very happy there too. We saw a 13% decrease in our lower levels entering and emerging, and a 13% increase in our developing and expanding, so compared to last year's cohort. So this is especially encouraging because it means that a lot more of our students that are entering the high school level have that stronger English foundation. So we will, despite the fact that we continue to welcome newcomers and who are just beginning their English language journey. All right, so now we're going to take a look at our secondary, our high school results through grades 9 through 12. So this spring, we tested 133 high school students, 5 more than we did last year. It is important to note that our high school group does include a number of newcomers entering the district with little or no English, which influences those percentages. Despite that, once again, the improvement is notable across all of our proficiency levels. So in grade 9, the majority of our students are in the developing range at 44%, with another 15 at expanding. This means that most of our students entering the high school are able to participate in grade level learning with scaffolds and support. support, and about 23% are at entering and 18% at emerging, which is expected given that some of these students are brand new to our district and to English learning altogether. What stands out here though is that nearly 60% of our ninth graders are already beyond the earliest stages of language acquisition. For 10th grade, we see a similar profile with 41% developing, 14% expanding, and 17% emerging, and 20% are entering, reflecting the fact that high school continues to receive newcomers, like I said. We are encouraged that over half of our 10th graders are in the developing and expanding, meaning that we're continuing to build that academic English that they need to handle high school content and coursework. By 11th grade, the group diversifies a little bit further, and 34% are emerging, 24% are developing, and 17% are expanding. Here we see fewer students at the entering level, which is 24% compared to our 9th and 10th graders, showing that many have advanced into those higher levels since their initial entry into the district. At this point, students are developing more complex academic language that they are required to have for graduation readiness and those post-secondary pathways. And then finally, in our 12th grade, we continue to see both growth and the impact of our newcomers. 33% are developing, 28% are emerging, and 36% are entering. While the percentage at entering looks higher, this just reflects the reality that many of our older newcomers that arrive in the U.S. During the high school and are assessed for the first time at this level, that's just going to skew our percentages. But these students face unique challenges balancing English acquisition with meeting their graduation requirements in a very short period of time. Because usually it takes 7 to 10 years to speak like a native fluent English speaker. But despite all of that, we see 33% of our seniors solidly in the developing level and making those academic progresses. So this slide compares our high school multilingual growth scores from last year. So from 9th through 10th grade, we saw a 3% decrease in students at the entering and emerging, and an 8% increase in students reaching, bridging, and reaching, which is the highest proficiency. While there was a dip in the 6% dip in the developing and expanding, this trade-off actually reflects progress. Some of those students advanced into bridging, which is exactly where I love that they are, and I want them to be there. Then from 10th to 11th grade, from the shift from 10th to 11th, the data is also very encouraging. We saw an 8% reduction in entering and emerging, and a 12% increase in developing and expanding. That means that more of our students are leaving those earlier stages and moving into the higher proficiency levels where they can engage in that academic learning more independently. And we also saw a 2% increase in bridging and reaching, showing that the students are continuing to break into those higher levels. Grade 11 to 12 saw the biggest story from last year with a 20% decrease in entering and emerging, paired with a 17% increase in developing and expanding, and a 3% increase in bridging and reaching. So this dramatic shift upward means that far fewer seniors remain at the beginning stages of the English acquisition, and many more are moving into those higher levels of proficiency that are preparing them to graduate. What we have changed and the things that we have done to enhance our multilingual program has been a couple of things. First, we rolled out our new curriculum across K-12 that is designed specifically to meet the needs of our multilingual learners. At the elementary school level, we are now using Benchmark from grades K-6, which strengthens our early literacy and language foundations. In grades 7 through 8, we introduced Bridges and also a reading program called Rewards, which focuses on phonics, fluency, and reading comprehension. And those are very targeted supports for students transitioning into that higher level academic English. And then at the high school level, we also introduced new curriculum in our bilingual classes using Engage, our ESL classes using Lift, and then our ESL support classes using Rewards, which is a reading support program. We also introduced Summit K-12, which is a computer-based program that allows students to practice these language skills online. This platform allows students individualized practice in listening, reading, writing, and speaking, and it helps to reinforce what they're learning in the classroom, and it gives the teachers real-time data so that we can target the support where it's most needed. We also added, within these couple of years, monitoring and data meetings. So in addition, we developed monitoring and progress forms so that we can track both current and former multilingual students a little bit more closely. We launched our ESL data team meetings where we meet quarterly to review our student performance, analyze the access data, and collaborate on strategies and more targeted support. We also have more targeted professional development, not just for ESL and bilingual teachers, but also for general education teachers. This ensures that every teacher in the district, no matter what their content area, is better equipped with strategies to support our multilingual learners in the classroom. And this has been a critical shift since most of our multilingual students spend the majority of their day in general education classrooms. So these are all of the enhancements which have worked together to create a stronger, more responsive program. These changes, along with our great staff, is why we're seeing the steady growth across all grade levels. So, thank you.
Board members, questions?
I actually have a question, Ms. Morales. I was just curious to know, suppose you have a first grader who walks in, again, no English at all, and then you have an 8th grader or a 9th grader walking in at the same time, both zero English experience. As far as the curriculum goes, are you starting them off with the same stuff, or is it different things because of their age being different?
It's different. We have to give them their grade appropriate content.
Okay.
That's why we support. It depends. The 8th grader that walks in, if that student is a SLIFE student, meaning they have interrupted formal education.
Mm-hmm.
If there is, and that's where like the reading programs come in, right, where we give them that phonics, that fluency, that reading comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
If they are proficient in their native language, then we give them, we pull back that course, and then we place them in either a bilingual program, depending if there are Spanish speaker MLs, or if they're not Spanish speakers, then we place them in a high intensity, but everything would be grade appropriate and based to their language proficiency.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
So just going off of your, like, what you responded. So if the students are different languages, whether it's Spanish, whether it's Hindi, Urdu, or Arabic, whatever, how do you differentiate that instruction for them? Because I know you said it like higher intensity, but what does that look like? Because I feel like there's a lot of, there are a lot of different like cultural and just like nuances. So what does that look like from like the user end?
So it looks a little bit different in a bilingual classroom, which mainly is for our Spanish-speaking population of multilingual students. That class is more of a mixed proficiency level because they're getting either their ELA or math content there. And then where we differentiate is their ESL classes where they receive one period of ESL, so they're either placed in beginner, intermediate, or advanced. So there the ESL teacher could work on more of the targeted language approach. And our bilingual teachers, they do scaffold. So even though they would have a mixed level group, they are scaffolding based on the students' proficiency levels. So we might provide more sentence frames for one student, or more vocabulary, or more visuals. We might present them with different graphic organizers. The text might look a little bit different. It would be the same content, but it would be chunked with simpler language in our bilingual or our high intensity classes.
So like the different dichotomies of languages we have, because I know we were talking about this like last few years, I guess, as a board, at least since I've been here, like sometimes we have to go out and search for the material. So like if you have 3 different languages, do you have that stuff really accessible, or do you have to like scramble and find it for like different languages that aren't Spanish?
So Spanish is the easiest, but not that easy to find. And then all the other languages, we do have to pull like different resources, because those sometimes are not necessarily readily available. So Spanish is I want to use air quote, the most common, but not every curriculum is translated or has authentic Spanish text or materials. So we have to vet it very carefully, because if it's translated, sometimes the words are a little bit too difficult, even for our native speakers, because they might not have proficiency in the Spanish language to that level. So it's a game of looking for what's best. But I am happy with Benchmark because they do use authentic text, so it's not a one-to-one translation. So we don't have that where the vocabulary is out of the student's range.
I'm happy to hear Benchmark is working.
Oh no, I love it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple of comments and questions. So the tests are structured in the following clusters, range in tiers A through C, with C being the highest. Do you all select whether you do A through C, or is it automatically populated that they would?
Yeah, that's automatically populated through the test.
Okay.
So they test first for reading and listening.
Okay.
Once they test for that, the test automatically puts them into tiers based
Okay.
on how they scored in their reading and in listening.
Okay.
And it'll either put them in a tier A, which is the lower, and then or a tier BC, which is the higher for writing and speaking.
Okay. And then I'm seeing that the 4.5 is the proficiency level for one exit criteria for them.
That is the state's arbitrary cutoff
Yes,
score.
right.
I don't know how.
No, agreed. I understood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's at 4.5.
Right.
So it's an overall composite score of all those different domains.
Okay. And in addition to the 4.5 on the access, what other criteria is relevant for them to exit out of?
So they have to be performing at the level of their peers. So when they exit, they should be reading, writing, doing their core content at their peers level, at their peers grade level.
Okay. Because I feel like that is a necessary lens for us to look through, because if we're looking at comparison from 24 to 25, those that hit 4.5 and probably also met the other criteria are not really in this comparator group, right? From 23, 24 to 24, 25, right? Because they would have been exited.
They
Okay.
have exited.
Okay.
But we do still track them though to make sure that they're progressing.
Yes, in just their academics generally outside of the,
exactly.
okay. And just a comment on the data is, I think it's valuable that we're looking at the decrease in the emerging, entering and emerging, and then the increase in the developing and expanding. But for the younger grades, which I totally understand, and I think one data point that we've been looking for is, again, if we can like tag them as to when they come in, I think that would be helpful for us going forward. But I think that's a harder ask. It sounds easy from here, but I do understand it's probably a harder ask to actually like identify what grade they came in from out of country. But for us to better understand it, I think that what we're all hoping and looking for is that the changes in entering and emerging, that decrease is then captured in the developing and expanding, right? So assuming that we are kind of comparing apples to apples and actually like tracking that cohort, we would see, for example, a -3% in changes in emerging and entering, and then the +6 or something over the -3, right? To kind of capture that there is like that kind of surplus, that abundance in progress. And that is just a comment for future reference.
Absolutely valid comment.
Yeah.
It is very hard sometimes to compare apples to apples with our groups because they are a very transient group.
Yes.
So sometimes so it's harder to track the cohorts. We do using the program Elevation.
Okay.
Our ESL and bilingual teachers and also our general ed teachers have that. So they could track, they see the data and the growth there from year to year. Along, also we put their yearly goals where we want each kid, depending on when they enter, to move to the next level.
Okay.
It's just harder to capture, but we do track that, and I do know that's part of our ESL data team meetings where we look at that to make sure that all the kids we get the kids based on where they're entering.
Okay, thank you.
My question actually relates to what Alicia had just talked about. I remember earlier in the presentation you had mentioned kind of the difference between grade four, then go to a different school in 5, and we have other kids coming in from, that didn't necessarily have the schooling and the programs that we do at the elementary level. So do you have those numbers that, like how many kids came in this year in 5th grade that were not in our schools prior to?
I do. I just
Okay.
don't have that data on me.
No worries.
It is, like I said, in our elevation program because that's
Okay.
our ESL housing
Yep.
data. So everything is there. It tracks like my language, how many languages are in the district, how many kids have income within the last 90 days.
Okay.
It tracks how many kids have exited and I'm monitoring. So all of that is housed there. So anything that I need, that's kind of where I go.
Okay.
to. But I can share that.
Yeah, I think we're obviously trying to dig into the specifics of this because we think this obviously is extremely important. And, thank you for being here tonight to present us this data because at the end of the day, this happens every spring and it's important for us to see, especially board members that have been on for several years, to see the differences over the last couple of years because our programs are evolving, because we're having different curriculum. So I think that's really important for us, and maybe we can even look into having that be presented to us at one of our committee meetings as well, and to share with the rest of the group. One other question I had as well, the targeted professional learning for the general education teachers and the bilingual teachers. Can you share with us what some of that looks like, what, kind of classes or programs they're doing?
So for the general ed teachers, they get more of a SIOP training, so that's more of a research framework about different strategies that they can use in lesson and lesson planning. For our ESL and bilingual teachers, that's a little more, we're looking at more like translanguaging techniques and allowing students to use their native language or their entire language repertoire in the classroom in order to make language more accessible. We do a little bit of translanguaging with the general ed teachers, but not too much because that is a whole other thing. But we do share strategies like CPR, the visuals, building background, making sure that we're reading fiction and not nonfiction into our curriculum. That's why I love Benchmark because it does that already. All that knowledge building into our curriculum.
Okay.
So that is what we look at.
Great, thank you.
Steve, did you?
Yeah, so I had one quick question. So, a lifetime ago, I worked at ETS and we worked on like NAEP assessments, and like there's so much data that goes out and asks about whether or not how many TVs you have in the house and stuff like that can all affect learning. And I guess the question I have is for the cohorts that we have that span multiple years, and especially for those who then exit out. Do we have a way to maybe find out, are there things that outside of the school, outside of curriculum, that might be a factor in helping them kind of move to that next level? Like, are there factors that maybe they have, whether it's siblings who are older, or they have, they participate in sports, or this or that? Like, what are other external factors that could be a common theme in terms of helping them as they develop and move on? That's just kind of a general question, comment.
So I don't necessarily track like what their extracurriculars are. I do know just talking to my I'm gonna call them my kids, my kids at the high school and stuff like that. Like they are in sports. Definitely they like baseball. They play soccer. Those are the two that I know that they're mostly interested in and they do participate in. I know that they're part of the Latin American club. I do actually try to get them to take the seal of biliteracy also, so that way we can bump up that. So they do participate in that. We also started our an ESL Avid class at the high school to make sure that we get them on the pathway to post-secondary, college, and university. And then also we were talking to King University to bring in the program Adelante so that we can start actually at lower grade levels, starting in the 6th grade, to get them on that pathway. So there's a whole bunch of
Yeah,
other stuff.
absolutely.
And bringing in also the community piece as well to make sure that we're engaging our parents into this process as well. And we've also started, that I didn't mention here, a bilingual parent committee where I meet with the parents as well, either virtually and sometimes in person, where I update them on like the new curriculum. I update them on all the new, like all the back to school stuff, because sometimes the parents that come new to this country don't know how to navigate our systems, and it gets a little bit confusing, so we've added that component as well.
And that's across all grade levels?
Yes.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Great.
Congratulations.
I do want to add, Steve, great question about that environment. So, Ms. Chang is in the back. We just recently heard the great news of the title money, especially Title III, adding to the program. So the fact that Ms. Morales already met with Kane University, and not only from the project Adelante, helping the younger grades and developing that exposure and not supplanting but supplementing their education in math and language arts, but also dual enrollment in the university. Because we often feel that children who are working with language barriers have the capacity, but do not have the, support to take a college-level class because of a language barrier. Well, working with King University, we have a SAPARA program that we were talking with Ms. Morales and the leader, the administration at Kane University. And what SAPARA is really offering is not only the dual enrollment, but if you enter at Kane University, students are taking in their native language the first 2 years of their classes in their native language with supports, but by their junior or senior year, they take their classes in English. And the data is remarkable that these students with these language barriers are outperforming their peers in GPA and the years it takes to graduate, right? We all think it's 4 and no more, but sometimes the average student's taking almost close to 6 years. So, and these SAPARA students, the Adelante students who are watching longitudinally really make a difference, because it's not the barrier, cognitive barrier, it's the language barrier, but also I feel the exposure, where the expectation is these students didn't have these opportunities. And so through the work of great districts like North Brunswick and universities, not only Kane, the College of New Jersey is providing training to many of our teachers, get the bilingual, get their certificates. And we're working on another grant to also bring in multiple universities to have it all subsidized, where teachers that are instructional aides will be able to get their teaching certificates, so we can grow our own while they're working, sponsored by the Department of Labor, but funded through grant opportunities from our Ed Services Commission of New Jersey. So more to come about this, but that's a great question, because I really think there's variables, right? We can't say it's causal in effect, but one thing we do know is that under your leadership, you mentioned a great staff, great program support from the Board of Ed, but your leadership matters. You and your position, and making sure the execution of these programs are there, and working with our teams. And I would love for you to illuminate a little bit about the data teams, because I think it's important that you put it as one of the areas that, but it's not, okay, go to it, we got new programs. It's a constant monitoring and analyzing of data. And we try to avoid the drip factor. You all know the drip factor, data rich, information poor. But having data teams looking at the constant data flow. So maybe you could talk about it, but I'm very excited to hear when you were talking to me about it. So.
Yeah, so I kind of took it into my own a little bit, because I know that we have our data teams with our grade levels, but we didn't really have one for the ESL team, so I took it upon myself and I created my own data team with them, where I meet with the ESL teachers quarterly after they take their math assessment. And we meet and we review that data along with the access scores, along with the summit scores. So we plan everything out accordingly, and we meet with the teachers to review all that data. Based on that data, then we develop target plans on where we see they need to improve. If it's the domain of speaking, writing, reading, or listening, then we create targeted plans for all of the teachers from K through 4 develops that, which they share out then with their general ed teachers. And then 5 through 8 does the same thing, and then 9 through 12. And then we then come back, review our data to make sure that that area where we thought first was the area of need is still a continued area of need. If not, then we pivot to the next area of need, and then that's how we continue to grow our students.
I just think, and you did it, taking it on your own, taking that initiative, doing something new and looking at a model that we use for other areas. I just want to commend you for that, because leadership matters, and looking at data and bringing those who are working with our students involved in the discussion around the table is so important to monitor and look at, keep the expertise from the people who are actually in the weeds doing the work. So scores don't improve by themselves. Hope is not a strategy. So I want to thank you for this work, and of course presenting to, as you can see, the board very much in lockstep and caring about the results and what's being presented. And so thank you on behalf of the board for this wonderful report.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take
care.
All right, thank you again. We will continue with the remainder of our meeting. We'll jump to item number 6, our meeting minutes. Mr. Ali, would you please take item 6?
Yes, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to approve the following meeting minutes: a special meeting from July 16th, executive meeting from July 16th, a board retreat meeting from July 21st, and a regular public meeting from July 30th.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? All the minutes are approved.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any communications this evening?
No new communications, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to our reports. Dr. Zakowski, can we have your administrative report, please?
Yes, I do have an administrative report, and thank you again, Madam President. I do want to start off, Ms. Chang started the evening with an introduction to Ms. Morales. So I want to thank Ms. Chang for her leadership in central office. I do want you to know a little bit about Ms. Chang. We got to give some context, how hard she works. She's an avid reader, voracious reader. In fact, she reads so much, we did a little work in our administrative retreat, and we were talking about movies, and I always like to show clips of movies to reinforce some leadership themes, and I showed a clip from Animal House. I think she's the first person I've encountered in the 21st century that never heard of Animal House as a movie. And of course, she's home reading all the reports and doing her study of due diligence. So it was quite eye-opening, and I was the only one surprised by that. But one of the top 5 movies of all time in that genre, and Miss Chang did never. And there was a few others she did not watch, including The Sound of Music. So
You're not alone, Mercy.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
you're not alone.
All right. So you're busy reading law briefs. And,
You're not alone.
but leading into that, we did have an administrative retreat. As you know, we had our board retreat, and we have our convocation tomorrow at 1 o'clock at the high school. Our administrative retreat was, I think, a very positive affirmation of our focus of this year, our strategy, our strategic execution of making sure we take our current initiatives, our current programs, and we illuminate the things that we need to change. We highlight things that are helping our children more efficiently, more effectively, so we could really do more with less. We're not throwing new initiatives out there, because sometimes next year's new idea, last year's new idea, tomorrow's new idea, we can't get the return of investment from our staff, from our leadership, of our core values, our mission-driven strategic plan. So we like to say the beginning of strategic execution 2.0, how are we going to make a difference, and using data teams, using understanding at the building level that we need to make a difference, and we have to make sure that things that we are being provided, resources, are working, and if they're not working, do we need to adapt? Do we need to change or need to get rid of? But doing the same things, bringing in a whole new set of initiatives, this district has a very, very, very good core value foundation. We have a very, very good strategic pillars that are guiding our work. And there's really, I don't think there's any initiative that isn't covered under our strategic thinking and planning. But the theme is how. We know the what. I share with our 42 new teachers in orientation, they had 5 days of commitment. I thanked them. 5 days. They're not getting paid. I know, Beth, the last time I'll get them 5 days without you having to get them paid, and I get it, and you're there. But we had 5 days without them being paid, coming in, committing to becoming a new teacher in the North Brunswick way, and understanding. And I wrapped up their last day by thanking them because we know that they were hired, they understand the what, right? What's our mission, right? And they understand the why. Every child, every classroom, every child, and no matter what station in grade, life, circumstance, they deserve the best education possible. That's a non-negotiable, the what and why. The where we run into problems is the how. So it's up to us here as the governance structure with our administrative team to make sure we figure out the how. Now, you've all heard of WTF. I'm not trying to be disrespectful on here. We know the kids use WTF when they're confused. Our motto is HTF. Now, it's not the F word. It's how to fix. So when you see the acronym in text talk, every question, when we talk and have our administrative team, our leadership team, our principals, our school buildings, the question that's going to be the prevailing question, how are we going to get to that? How are we going to do it? How are we going to make it work? It's great that we have meetings. It's great we have resources, new products, but how do we make it work? How do we make a difference? And that's how we're going to continue to uncover what we need to do. And without that, you can't either get better or get worse. We'll continue to get better. So I do want to thank you. That's why I highlighted that data team, that kind of initiative and that thinking. And initiatives the innovation, I should say, not initiative, that innovation, just something different. Doesn't have to be a new technological discovery. Just different thinking and taking, hey, this is what we're doing with our regular students. Why not with our ELL students? Why not with those students that we are monitoring? And of course, we have a responsibility to make sure we give them the best environment so they can reach their potential. So I want to thank Mercy again. Go home and watch some movies or keep reading. Thank you, Ms. Morales, again. So addition to the 42 new teachers and the 5 days of training, you can imagine the excitement, new teachers, and we always want them to remain pure in terms of their idealistic North Star, which is they came into this profession as calling to do the best job they can. And I told them, just like having a family, you're going to love them to death, but there's going to be days you're frustrated. Don't give up when you get frustrated. And, equivalent of you have a new family and the baby's crying at night. Well, guess what? It's sometimes you say, wow, that's frustrating. I can't get some sleep. But at the end of the day, it's worth it. So, and that North Star is going to continue to, I want to keep those new teachers with that, I guess to say that bright light they had about them in the last 5 days. So very excited about always seeing new teachers. We also had our beginning of our 3 days of our regular teachers, right? Our veteran teachers all came in starting Tuesday, Wednesday. We do one more day and we end with our convocation. But they're going through their staff training. It's a lot of work. And you all, thank you for taking a tour over the last couple of days, seeing that they're in there getting their rooms ready, everything's getting prepared, because September 2nd, folks, I want to say, everyone in TV land and those who hear this, it's their first day of school. Day after Labor Day, September 2nd. That's an early start. The bus stops, we know there's been some issues. But thank you, Ms. Rosa, Ms. Hock, to making sure that the buses they don't typically leave before the start time, but we ask before the designated time, but we ask parents and family members, if you're going to be at the bus stop, get there, look at it 10 minutes early. It's very difficult, especially when you're picking up so many students. if you're getting there last minute, and sometimes the buses are moving and they don't see anybody. So 10 minutes early as we start the school year off. We do know our staff does a great job busing. There's so many areas. When you take a ride around this wonderful town, North Brunswick, we have a lot of busy areas. Route 27, Route 1, Route 130, all the crossing lanes. There's traffic, there's issues, there's lights, there's whatever. So, but we get there on time, and for the most part, on time. But our safety rate is, I'd like to remind everyone, we're very proud of that. So we'll continue to make safety a focus, but we ask parents to help us out, try to get the students in. 10 minutes early always helps. Well, I have Miss Cheng here. Also, another thing we were talking about, and I have to tell parents, be patient, because some of us, including superintendent, we get a little disappointed with the DOE in New Jersey. There's a whole new set of field tests that will be taking our students out of the learning environment, and we have to field test because Pearson is no longer the company, and there's a new company that got the contract, and the DOE said that we told you about the new company, but yes, but it's new field testing. So they're going to have to, our students will be taking tests again and field testing it. In other words, leveling it for validity and reliability of questions. And unfortunately, just more time away from the classroom environment and the learning. So we ask parents to understand, they sometimes cannot, it's like how much testing is being done. Where's the classroom opportunities? And so it's not Miss Chang's fault. She's been fighting it at Trenton, but to no avail, because it was a big contract given out.
Dr. Zakowski, if you just clarify, no more NJSLA.
No more NJSLA, but there's still a field test,
Yes, just
and there's still
it'll be
the NJ GPA.
It'll be NJSLA A.
Yeah, so the new field test is they've really made a creative change from NJSLA to NJSLA A. Now, us math stars like to say NJSLA squared. That would, but we don't want to make it too difficult for your language arts folks. So again, the field testings here, very, very, I think it's another difficult time for it. And it happens in November. There's windows. I think November is
End of October
into November. Difficult time for, the school year is just getting that wonderful cadence. But just to let you know, we'll keep you posted on how that goes. But we do apologize and ask the parents and families to be patient with us, but it's something we're not selecting. I mentioned that you mentioned, thank you, Madam President, there was tours. I do want to thank our building and grounds, both inside and out, getting school ready. That's why I was very appreciative the board took a lot of time. It's a lot of time in your day, thank you, because you wanted to see, we went early July, the buildings look like, wow, you don't have much time to get all this work, chairs, desks, everything all out, and then it really looked wonderful. Everything very inviting. We have safe schools, but we also have to make them inviting. We can't make them safe like prisons, right, where there's so much security, but we make them safe. And as you know, safety is a priority here at North Brunswick. One can't learn if and families don't think their children are safe. We know the news of the day, and it really validates that our training, our processes, our investments in security and safety, along with all the wonderful, I would like to say, cleanliness and support that our building and grounds people have been really hard at work. The weather's been great, but it is difficult work, the timelines, and so thank you, building ground. And I want to thank Mrs. Hawk, as many of you may know who've known me, that as a superintendent, I love the learning and teaching and learning, but I also love operations, and Ms. Hawk has been just a tremendous asset in terms of leading Paul and George, our supervisors, leading the plant managers, getting things organized and done, and sitting at the table as we start engaging in this referendum work, and alongside of doing all the other work that is necessary to get the schools open and being ready for the traffic that will be nonstop from September 2nd on. And we love that traffic, but we have the buildings ready. I want to say, as far as the buildings, the referendum projects did start. And we did visit the beautiful bathrooms, the public, we like to call them the public bathrooms with the commons, and right as you go into the gym. Necessary, it was long overdue, so thank you, board, for working with the community, getting a referendum passed, getting it refunded through the state, a lot from the state. Great timing. The buildings, the bathrooms look beautiful, and the work commended Mr. Wilk, who's the plant manager at the high school, Mr. Neller, the staff, people were there. We actually ran into some of the cleaning folks, still with a big smile on their face, and just happy that you as a board value having the buildings prepared and ready. So thank you again for that. It means a lot to them. And thank you to Ms. Hawk and your leadership of running that team. Operations includes busing, not only budgeting and busing and transportation and building and grounds and repair and maintenance. So I do thank you for that partnership. It's been a great welcome. And I do want to say finally, thank you to all those who've made a wonderful welcome. Beth, thank you. You came in and welcome, and we really talked about kids. You know, and we know there's a natural, sometimes people think there's a natural rivalry between management and staffing, and we really just sat around and talked about kids and how things are going to get done, and we're looking forward to working together. But I had many visitors, and I just want to thank all of them trying to make me feel welcome, and it meant a lot to me, my staff members, colleagues, some community members stopping in, just coming in, saying hello, wishing me well, but so extension wishing all of us well. And especially to the Board of Ed, welcoming me back, give me the opportunity to come back and serve this district and this community. So I want to say thank you. And one last plug. I want to say happy birthday to Dr. Patel. On her birthday, giving up a lot of time and doing the tours. Happy birthday, Dr. Patel. And thank you again, Board of Education. That concludes my report. One more thing. Sorry. Sports seasons are kicking off, and there's so much practice going on. But our high school team, we have a home game, August 28th, not Friday the 29th. That's everyone's. Tomorrow. Understand why a lot of games were moved to Thursday. There's a shortage of officials, so a lot of schools are moving games to Thursday night football. Not because of TV or the NFL does it, right? Thursday night football rather than under Friday night lights. So we have some of the games. It's September 5th game at South Brunswick, which Coach Sidepot says if you lose, you're done. His contract's over. That's our Army-Navy game. We can't lose the Navy or an Army, whatever, but that's South Brunswick. But no, that's September 4th. That's a Thursday instead of a Friday, September 5th. Instead of August 29th, the initial schedule came out. We are playing Thursday night here at North Brunswick. I know Rutgers is opening up, but the Raiders are more impressive, so let's go check out the Raiders. 6 o'clock start also for this particular game. So that concludes my report, Madam President. I'm sorry.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I know. Take two.
Just make a brief VP comment. Just because this is the last meeting before the start of the school year, I am just wishing staff, instructional staff, teaching staff, administrators, and the community a wonderful 25-26 school year, and I wish everyone the very best of luck.
Well, thank you. And yes, definitely, I look forward to attending convocation tomorrow to welcome our staff back as well. Some comments from both of us, so it'll be a wonderful afternoon. And we're just really, as a board, really excited for the school year approaching. So, with everything we have going on, the fact that the board has, made themselves available to everything that we've had going on over the summer, getting updates, welcoming back Dr. Zakowski, our referendum projects, Rosa being at the helm of that, just sitting here really grateful. So really excited for a welcome back tomorrow, definitely. And we also, just to add, we also had some other board birthdays this month. We had Dr. Patel today. Mr. Singh was earlier in August, and then Mr. Wen was Sunday, right? Sunday. Yes. So a lot of August birthdays on the team. No,
Sorry.
we're tag teaming. All right. Well, thank you so much. For our committee reports, we will have those coming up in September. We had our committee of the whole meeting earlier this month, so I look forward to having our committee chairs present their reports starting in September. So at this time, we'll move to the remainder of our agenda. Mr. Wen, would you please take item 9?
Sure, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion to approve the administrative and committee reports.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? All the reports are accepted.
Thank you. So monthly, we do this, and we will review our agenda for the evening. As stated at the beginning of the meeting, the board does receive the agenda ahead of time. We've all had time to individually review this, but we also get updates since then. So any updates are in bold on the agenda, and those are listed. So we will review and start on pages 2 and 3. Jumping to page 4 and 5. Pages 6 and 7. 8 and 9. Pages 10 and 11. 12 and 13. 14 and 15. 16 and 17. Pages 18 and 19. 20, 21. Pages 22 and 23. 24 and 25. Pages 26 and 27. (28) and 29. And wrapping up with a short section on page 30. All right, so at this time, we will have a public session on agenda items only. If anyone from the public would like to address the board on agenda items only, this is now the time. We ask that you just state your name and you'll be given 3 minutes. Okay, seeing none, can we please have a motion to close the public portion of the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? This session is closed.
Thank you. Mr. Carter, would you please take item 13, consent agenda?
Absolutely, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion to approve the following consent agenda items: Personnel 1, Curriculum 1 and 2, Miscellaneous, Finance 1 and 2, Policy and Transportation.
Second.
I'm going to take roll call. Mr. Ali?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. James?
Yes.
Ms. Keefe?
Yes.
Dr. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
And Mr. Wen?
Yes.
All the motions and resolutions are approved.
Thank you. All right. Okay, at this time, we will jump to page 29 on our agenda, item 14, a public session on any matter. If anyone from the public would like to address the board on any matter, this is now the time. We ask that you just state your name, and you'll be given 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Beth Pasner. I am the president of the North Brunswick Township Education Association. I know I have to introduce myself, so. Thank you very much for touring the schools. We really appreciate you coming out and seeing the hard work that our staff has been doing for, all summer long, but also the last couple of days has been a whirlwind, and our staff is ready to go, and we're super excited for the new school year. We appreciate all of the sentiment and the warm wishes and all of that. Welcome back, Dr. Zakowski, officially. So I missed the joke of the millions of viewers. Wishing to hear that again. It's like blast from the past. Two things that I just want to update the board about. The NBTEA will be having tables at all of our back to school nights to help our parents sign up for free and reduced lunch should they need to sign up for that. It's very important, obviously, not just in terms of making sure that the district has adequate funding, but also the most important thing is we want to make sure our students get fed. And so we will be there and have tables set up for, I know that the district obviously gives out the forms to parents and all that stuff, but in case anyone needs help, our staff members will be there to help sign up students. I also wanted to just make you aware that we will be hosting again this year a Meet the Candidates night for the upcoming Board of Ed election. We have already reached out to all of the candidates. We're just waiting to solidify a date. It's either going to be September 11th or September 15th. So we will let the community know. We feel that it is very important, especially when you have a year where there are 6 candidates running for 3 spots, that the community hears about the candidates and hears their platforms and all of those, especially for me as a social studies teacher. The participation in democracy is very, very important. So we want our community to be aware. So as soon as we know the date, we will put it out to the community. And thank you once again, and have a great school year to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Beth.
Beth, I heard it was 5 candidates, but I'm sure you'll get the final list.
One dropped.
Yeah.
Someone dropped, and the 6 that was published or that is floating out there, that's not official. Those are the unofficial names, but there's a time period for vetting and making adjustments, and the official list has not been released yet. There's still county things that need to be done, but I have confirmed with the county it's down to 5.
Okay, thank you very much for that information. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, can we please have a motion to close the public portion of the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, second. Mr. Singh?
Yes.
We'll give you credit for that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? And we are closed for this session.
Thank you. At this time, we'll motion to go into a closed session, whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975 permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presents and exist, now therefore be it resolved by the North Brunswick Township Board of Education that the public shall be excluded from discussion of and action upon the hereinafter specified subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Number 1, personnel matters, and number 2, financial matters. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as the need for non-disclosure no longer exists. This resolution shall take effect immediately. Can I please have someone motion to go into closed session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? We are closed. at
Thank you.
8:20.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make me have something.
Okay, we'll return to our meeting. Could we please have a motion to return to open session?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? We're back in session.
All right, thank you everyone for a great meeting, and at this time, can we please adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Happy